Welcome to our Tesla road trip series. On this road trip we go from Utah to Florida in 4 days, and this particular video today is our second day of that trip. So we're driving from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Texarkana, Texas. We left at about 7 a.m. in the morning Mountain Time, and we arrived at 11:40 p.m. Central Time. So that's a total of 15 hours and 33 minutes of driving and charging combined. So definitely a really long day. I don't necessarily recommend it. It is the longest day of this entire trip, both on the way out and back. And we just wanted to have this segment be what it was because we wanted to stay at some relatives' home in Texarkana, and Albuquerque was a good halfway point between home and Texarkana. So let's get into the details and I'll show you how it went. You can see here, these are the settings that I had set for this leg of the trip. And if we jump over here, you can see that it was estimating 14 hours and 27 minutes, which was an hour and 5 minutes shorter than what actually happened that day. As part of the reason for this is, as we were approaching this Dallas area here, you can see a better route planner selected Denton, Texas, a supercharger, and that's a nice straight route. What actually did happen was we came down here to this Southlake supercharger. And as we were driving along here and I knew I was approaching this turnoff, I debated about what I should do because I knew that Tesla was telling me to come to Southlake, but a better route planner had said to use Denton. And I couldn't figure out why the discrepancy was there, but I trusted that Tesla has the more up-to-date information if a supercharger is offline or otherwise unavailable. And so I decided to go with Tesla's in-software navigation that's in the car. So according to a better route planner, that added 16 minutes to the trip by having to go farther south and then come back up. Now, I realized later that in the Tesla navigation software preferences, I have the no tolls option checked. And so I thought maybe that was slowing, or that was maybe why it didn't have me going across Denton. However, I checked the Dallas area toll map. You can see Denton is right here, and this Highway 380 is the one that we would have been on, and it doesn't show up as being a toll road at all. So I'm still at a loss as to why we did that detour, but that's what happened.
Good morning, girls. How did you sleep? Good. It's pretty early in the morning, huh? It's about 6 o'clock. So we have a long day ahead of us. Clara is over here. Hey Lydia, how well did you sleep?
In a big bed.
Great, I'm glad to hear it.
Y'all ready to go to Texas, get in and eat.
Alright, let's go eat. Hey Clara, did you sleep well last night? Yeah. Lydia, look at that fancy breakfast that you have. So this is the morning of the second day, and we're eating breakfast at the hotel, and it's about I think it's about 6:30 in the morning, and we'll get an early start today because we have a 14-hour day ahead of us. Do you like it? Is it good? Great. Look at that beautiful sunrise. That is great. Just past that tree over there is the supercharger where our car is plugged in, and Clara and I are going to go get it. We just finished breakfast here at this Holiday Inn Express in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Did you sleep well, Clara? Great. And we're on our second day right now. So today we're planning on going from Albuquerque to Texarkana, Texas. It's going to be a fairly long day. We anticipate about 14 hours, so we're trying to get as early of a start on the day as we can. So we woke up at 5:45, which none of us love, but is sometimes necessary. Tomorrow and the next day will be much shorter days though, so that should be good. Oh, look at this. We've got 2 other Teslas waiting. Because of the unfortunate circumstances where 4 of the stalls are broken, there's only 2 working. So let's get out of their way so that they can charge up. What a beautiful sunrise though. Look at that. Come on, Clara.
Looking at the Teslafy data for this morning, I drove from the hotel over to the supercharger, and then we plugged in at the supercharger and got 16% charge, going up to 96%, but that took 49 minutes, so it took a while even though the battery heater was on for the duration of that charge. I then drove back over here to the hotel and loaded up the family.
How was the driving this morning?
Great.
Are you liking your movie? What about you, Lydia? Yeah. What about you, Lucy? Thought I would point out how we did this monitor being mounted here in the car. You can see on the ceiling, it's all glass. So we got these suction cup mounts from seasucker.com. And then I wanted to be able to mount them to the monitor, but I couldn't quite find any mounting hardware that would make sense. So I just bought this piece of 16 gauge steel from Home Depot and rounded off the corners and etched out this upper section so that we can see through on the rear view mirror. And then screwed that onto the back of the monitor right here and then suctioned it there. So it's been working really well, actually. It is now estimating 9%, and 9% is acceptable. Sing it really loud. And then the into the unknown part.
Into the unknown. Into the unknown. Into the unknown. Into the unknown.
Into the
Should we listen to it again?
We have half an hour left, and we're currently estimated to arrive at 7%. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef, but this little piggy had none. But this little piggy went wee, 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 all the way home. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef, and this little piggy had none. This little piggy went wee, all the way home. Are you girls having fun?
Yeah!
Good.
When are we gonna get out of the car for our first
In 13 minutes.
Oh yeah, look at this. Tucumcari, that's us. Arrival at, we're at 9%, and we have 13 minutes remaining, or 12 minutes remaining. And so that's what our journey looked like this morning. You can see here that our average watt hours per mile over the last 30 miles is 298, which is exactly what it was when we had tested this a month ago or so back in Utah. So wintertime, you know, it's 42 degrees now, so it is warming up a bit. But
Tucumcari.
wintertime does consume a little bit more battery in general, but once you're on the road going, it's not that bad. Our cabin temperature is at 68, but in the beginning, when we first got started, the consumption was up in the like 800 watt hours per mile range as it was climbing out of that area, and I guess the car was still cold or something. I had supercharged it for about 15% of the battery from about, we got from about 80 to 97 actually this morning, so that helped to heat up the battery somewhat. We didn't have any regen restrictions this morning, so I don't think the battery was that terribly cold.
On that leg of the trip, we drove for 2 hours and 14 minutes, and we drove 175 miles, and so that was an efficiency of 76.6%.
This Holiday Inn Express here is where the supercharger is, apparently. Oh, there they are. You can see the superchargers there in the back corner, which is always good when they're not near the front of a building. Alright, looks like the charging has about peaked. It's at 117 now. It was at 120. It got up into the 120s and then it started to decline already. We just barely started charging, so still has a while yet to go. It's estimating that we need to charge for 35 minutes before we can then continue on our way. So we're going to be going to Amarillo, Texas next. And so we're gonna go take a break, get the kids out of their car seats for half an hour, and we'll be getting back in the car and head for the next leg of the trip. Hey Clara, what are you eating? Cereal. You got some fruit. Whoa, that was loud. Fruit Loops. And a pastry. Whoa, that is so big. What are you eating?
Cereal.
Oh.
I'm sorting the colors out.
I see that. We came in here to this hotel to use the restroom and whatnot, and hang out while the car is charging. And the woman at the front counter said, "Hey, are you charging right now?" And my wife said, "Yeah, we are." And she said, "Oh, great, go help yourself to breakfast." So very nice of her. I don't know how often she does that, but that was pretty nice. So that's where we got these Fruit Loops from. All right, well, we have another about 15 minutes left of charging, and then we'll be back on the road. Lucy, what did you do?
I'm sorting colors.
You're sorting colors from your Fruit Loops. You did a great job.
Daddy, look at me.
You're funny.
Thousands of miles out from Hawaii toward the west coast. And again, this can produce very Alaska high in the south.
Are you getting comfy?
Dread from the south and the west, depending on the duration. This can produce severe impacts in terms of flooding, as well as heavy snow. But also, this can be good.
Oh, you found some more colors.
Areas.
Kids are running back to the car. We stayed too long at this hotel. They gave us free food, which incidentally was a hotel we had stayed at last night, just in a different city. So we stayed here too long, and the car's ready to go. So let's get back on the road. You ready, Lydia? You're tired because you were just running?
Yeah.
What about you, Lucy? Are you tired?
I'm out of breath.
All right, let's get in the car. We're at 35 kilowatts charging still. It's at 78% and 44 degrees. And it's estimating that we will get to Amarillo at 27%. So we definitely overshot this one a bit, but the kids were enjoying themselves, so that's good. Let's get started.
Looking at the Teslafy stats for that stop, as you know, we overcharged by about 17% more than we really needed to. We had started at 7 and went to 79%, and we were there for 55 minutes. The original estimate had been that we only needed to be there for 35 minutes.
Girls, look at all the windmills on the horizon.
Wow, holy cow! Holy cow!
Well, as a status update, we are down to 56 degrees, 48% battery. We have been averaging 350 watt hours per mile for the last 30 miles. And it's really flat for the most part around here. So not a lot terrain-wise to show up on this graph. So we have another 47 miles until we get to Amarillo. We probably won't charge there terribly long, and then we'll continue on our way. Girls, are you having fun?
Yeah,
What are you doing?
they're playing. And she's coloring.
Who's coloring?
Lydia.
Oh,
And we're using water crayons.
cool. Sounds like fun.
I'm ready for these to dry.
Yeah.
So that I can color.
And then Mom
Make a quilt.
is making a quilt for a Christmas present.
Windmills over here.
There are a lot. Look how close we're getting, Lucy.
All right, we are 2 minutes away from the Amarillo supercharger. And you can see here we're rapidly approaching it. And we have 28% in the battery. We're just arriving. Temperature has gone up to 65, which is really nice. And so yeah, let's get it plugged in.
We drove for an hour and a half. We drove at 82.7% efficiency, which I'm quite happy with. The temperature outside is improving. It's at 58 degrees. And you can see the terrain is pretty level this whole time, not hardly any change at all. So it's quite flat, and that's helping as well.
All right, we're plugged in here in Amarillo. The charge rate is still climbing. Oh, it started going down. We're already at 28%, so I guess 88 kilowatts is about what we're going to peak at today. So it's estimating 25 more minutes, and then we will continue on our way to Childress, Texas.
Guess what?
So, girls, should we go play outside and run around?
No, it's too hot.
Too
Lunch first.
Lunch first, okay. Clara fell asleep.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out and run around.
I have Go-Gurt.
You have Go-Gurt. You love it. What about you, Lucy? I found you. This weather is amazing. So warm. Let's see, where are we? We're up to 65 degrees. The car is almost done charging. Right now it's estimating we would arrive with 7%, so we'll wait till it gets up a little higher. And then after this, we're going to be driving for almost 2 hours. We had a hard time getting the kids back in the car quickly again, and so here we are at 21% arriving at Childress, Texas. We'll be an hour and 49 minutes on the road, and it's up to 65 degrees, so that's nice. Let's get on the road.
Alright. Lucy, if I give you this, you need to not okay?
The charging in Amarillo was broken up twice here because we charged for 19 minutes and then it just stopped for some reason and gave me an error. So I unplugged the car and plugged it back in, and then it continued on. So we went ultimately from 28% up to 72% on that over the 15 minutes, or sorry, the half an hour or so that we were charging. And otherwise everything worked just fine. I'm not really sure why it stopped the first time.
We're approaching Childress. We're at a 13% battery. We'll be there in 3 minutes, so we're really almost there.
On this part of the trip from Amarillo to Childress, we drove for almost 2 hours, and we had 81.3% efficiency. And you can see the terrain was going downhill overall, and the temperature has gone up 64 degrees.
Looks like, 127 kilowatts is where it peaked. Oh, sorry. 127 kilowatts, but that was a very brief peak, and it's already down to 116. I have noticed that since our road trip we went on in July of 2019 that we do not keep the same sustained charge rates, and we don't even get quite as high. Back then we got as high as 130, which is technically what it should be capable of, but Tesla has done something with the software where it does not charge as high as it used to. Look at that, we're already back down to 106. So now it's estimating 35 minutes before we will continue on our way. So a little bit disappointing that it does not keep the charge rate as high as it used to. They're probably trying to protect the battery pack's longevity. So that's what happens. So we're sitting here at the supercharger, and we can monitor what the girls are doing behind us by using the camera in the rear view camera of the car. So we're gonna wait about 5 more minutes, and then we'll get back on the road. We'll be going to Henrietta, Texas next. So we're waiting until that gets up to 10%, and then we'll take off. We're up to 73%. We estimate getting there at 12%, 13% at Childress. So we're going to go ahead and get started. This leg of the trip will be 1 hour and 51 minutes. And so let's get started.
We spent a total of 45 minutes at the Childress, Texas supercharger. Went from 15 to 74% battery. And we had originally estimated that we'd be there for 35 minutes. So we overcharged a little bit more than we need to, but not a ton.
All right, we're pulling into the next supercharger stop. We're at 7%. Remaining, it's 50 degrees outside. There's the superchargers.
Going from Childress to Henrietta, Texas, you can see the elevation change went down 1,000 feet, but we also had some wind, which I believe was a headwind. And so that's probably why our efficiency went down to 76.5, where it had been just in the low 80s before.
The charge is ramped up. Oh, look at that. That's the best we've seen yet. 128 kilowatts. That's really close to the 130 theoretical max for this trim. So it's estimating 30 minutes of charging here before we move on. So that's great. Our next stop is going to be Southlake, Texas, and then Sulphur Springs. All right, we're ready to go. We have 13% to get to the Southlake supercharger, and it's 49 degrees out. We're gonna get going.
At the Henrietta, Texas supercharger, we were there for 31 minutes and went from 8% to 57%, and it had originally estimated 30-minute charge, so we were there pretty much the perfect amount of time.
Hey Lucy, what are you playing?
Princesses, and we're playing unicorns.
Princesses and unicorns? All right, with a little detour, we're arriving with 8% battery at Southlake. And so we're gonna be here for about a half an hour again. It's about 45 degrees outside.
To get to Southlake, Texas, we drove 1 hour and 20 minutes, and our efficiency was at nearly 75%. So a bit on the high side for sure at 400 watt-hours per mile.
It's a good speed. So that's the charge rate. Looks like we're peaking out at, 121. It keeps surprising me. It keeps going up just a little bit. Okay, 120. So let's see.
Can you put your
Yeah, we're close to the end. We have here one more stop in between us and our destination after this stop. So we have about a half an hour here. It estimates 35 minutes. We'll see. It seems like that's overly up. Oftentimes it's actually a little bit less than that. And then we'll charge one more time, and then we'll be there. Girls, what did you just put on?
Our matching pajamas. Even my Pegasus has matching pajamas with all of us.
Wow.
And I'm putting my princess's pajamas on too.
Yeah? What about you, Clara?
I put my princess's. My princess. She has the same thing as my Pegasus.
Yeah? Girls, show me your airplane.
It's a whole herd of airplanes.
What are you, girls?
Pegasus. And that's our baby Pegasus.
We're at 36 kilowatts. We've got enough charge. We're at 71%, and we'll get to Sulphur Springs with 18. So once again, we took too long. It's 45 degrees out, and so we're gonna get out of here.
The kids were having so much fun playing at the Southlake supercharger and the shops in the area that we spent longer there than we needed to. The car had originally estimated 35 minutes, and we were there for 43 minutes and went up to 71% battery from 11%.
All right, we're pulling in here to the supercharger with 19% remaining. We're at Sulphur Springs. We're going to be here for about half an hour, and then we'll head on our way and get to our destination.
On the segment from Southlake to Sulphur Springs, we drove at 78% efficient. You can see that the terrain was up and down quite a bit, and overall only changed down 158 feet. And the kilowatts are climbing fast, which is great. Down to 44 degrees, which isn't too bad. 93 kilowatts. All right, we're just about to leave. We're going to be getting to our destination with 11% battery right now. The Sulphur Springs, Texas supercharger estimated originally 30 minutes of charging, and we were there for 35 minutes, from 20% to 65%. On this segment from Sulphur Springs to Texarkana, Texas, we drove at 70.6% efficiency. The terrain was hilly once again and only went down 154 feet. We've arrived at our destination, Texarkana, Texas. It was a long day. About 14 and a half hours is what it was originally estimated to be, and it has proven to be closer to an hour more than that, about 15 and a half hours. So we left this morning at about 7 a.m. and we are just now arriving here at about 11:40 p.m. So definitely a longer day than I recommend, and this is about the longest day of this trip just based on the cities and where we were staying, and Texas is a big place. So I thought I'd show you really quick here what we have set up. I had called ahead and they have a dryer outlet available within distance of near the garage. So we're here in the driveway of the home we're staying in. And down here I have the Tesla charger cable along with an extension cord and some adapters. This is a NEMA 1030 outlet. We have our extension cord plugged in there. And then heading out here to the garage, or to the driveway. This is where the Tesla connector is plugged into this extension cord. Now let's plug in the Tesla charger. See if it works. Sweet. We have success. Alright, let's go check out the charge speed. The estimated charge time is 13 and a half hours. Here, let me show you. So 13 and a half hours. We're charging at 24 amps on a 30 amp circuit. This is a dryer outlet in the garage. And so we should be good to go by the time we need to go. It'll be charging all night long, and then we'll probably be here. So it's midnight now, and we're planning on leaving at about 10 a.m. tomorrow probably. So it won't be even fully charged, but it'll be charged enough to get to the next supercharger with plenty of margin to spare. So it's been a really long day. We had planned for this day to be a 14 and a half hour day, which was probably a little longer than I would have liked to have done anyway, but that's the distances of the places we were trying to get to. There were some inefficiencies in the day for various reasons. I don't even know what they were, but it took about an hour longer than we expected. So we got here at 11:40 instead of, well, initially we had thought 9:30, but then we realized the time changed an hour, so that threw us off. And then there was just another hour that's unaccounted for that we got here later for. So the route planning software, maybe I should have programmed just a little bit more of a delay in there to plug in, just because things happen and it takes time to get plugged in. But in any case, it's a great car to drive in, and I love definitely driving it. Really long days like this though, not terribly advisable, but if you need to do it, you can do it. One other thing I would point out is trips wise, if you look at this, the Orlando line there, I don't know if you can see that very well, but we've driven 1,460 miles since we left home. And so half of that was yesterday and half of that was today. So in any case, it's going to be a long trip overall. We still have 2 more days of travel to go on the next 2 days, and then we'll get to Orlando. Charging there in Texarkana, Texas on that 30 amp circuit, we were charging at 24 amps. So we charged for 10 and a half hours and got up to 83% battery from 9%. So this helps give you a good idea of what that's going to look like. If you plug into someone's dryer outlet, you'll be able to, in 10 hours, get about 75% battery. Right here on Testify, you can see the entire route that we took all the way from Albuquerque through to Texarkana. Looking at the cumulative statistics for the whole day, you can see down here we drove a total of 838 miles, but we used up 1,087 rated miles, which means that our efficiency was 77% for the entire day. We drove just over 11 hours, used 325 kilowatt hours, and that was at an average of 388 watt hours per mile for the whole day. Keep in mind, our Tesla Model S is rated to consume 300 watt hours per mile, so that explains the difference up here. The average temperature for the day was 49 degrees, and then we stopped at 8 superchargers, and we added 264 kilowatt hours through the course of the day, which was 888 rated miles added, and we spent nearly 5 hours charging. Then you can see down here we have the one, what they call travel charge, which is the charging that we did with the dryer outlet at our relative's home in Texarkana, Texas. And that added 54, almost 55 kilowatt hours overnight, which added 188 rated miles, and it charged for 10.5 hours to be able to do that. I hope you enjoyed seeing how our trip went on this longest day and what it was like with 3 little kids and driving a really long 15.5-hour day. I'm going to continue working on my video, and I'll post another YouTube video next week on our trip from Texarkana down to Mobile, Alabama. And so if you'd like to get notified when I post that video, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.